Welcome to Design Diary, the podcast where you get to look inside my board game design notebook as well as what's going on inside my head. We look at a new word each day from the sense of mechanics, tone, theme, or inspiration for a full game. Today's word is Scarify. To make scratches or small cuts in something such as the skin. To lacerate the feelings of. To break up, loosen, or roughen the surface of something such as a field or road. To cut or soften the wall of a hard seed. To hasten germination. These definitions are always weird. Just the way they throw things in parentheses, and you can't. I try to inflect the parentheses, but you might not hear them. Like a hard seed was in the parentheses on that one. But so here we go. I'm gonna read what I have for the day. I have my son snoring behind me. You may or may not hear him. I can hear him at least in my headphones. So today I let's see what I had. I had some good stuff, I think. Scarify. My initial thoughts were to make scratches makes me think of marking a trail of some sort, marking your location or even marking your own belongings, placing a unique mark that nobody knows as a way of coding something. And I kind of went off on that for a little bit. What I think was interesting was that if players have to mark up or have to up the code of another player, meaning they have to add to it. So the player before them in a way that each code is still unique, but with an additional element, with the code breaking when they are no longer unique. And I reversed that into something that I thought was actually doable, because in that instance, you're adding pieces to a code, and eventually when they're no longer the same, it breaks, which they're probably no longer the same after you add the first element. So I reversed it to where if space is limited, and then there are placement restrictions. So let's just say you have a small grid of like really small, like let's say 3x3. And then players can add a shape to the pattern and then pass it on. So let's say you have, each player has a shape, 4 players, so a circle, square, rectangle, and an X. The person places a circle somewhere, and then the person places an X somewhere. And it can't be the same one as the circle. So let's say I place it next to the circle. Forgoing the orientation of the card or whatever they're placed on, the X and the circle being next to each other is good. Is the same as another card if they're next to each other. So if the circle's in the center and the other one's on the top, they're still next to each other. If it's on the left, they're still next to each other. If they're the only things on the card. So then we throw a third thing in, and we throw our diamond in. And let's say the diamond is on the other side of the circle opposite the square. If that's on 2 different cards like that, then they're considered the same. But if it's square, circle, and then the diamond making an angle, then those ones are different. So hopefully that all makes sense as I discuss it, but as I try to describe it. But let's say everybody adds their shapes, and pieces are then revealed. Your cards are revealed. So let's say I skipped a part. Players each add a shape and then pass it on. So we're kind of doing this little round robin where we add a shape to it and pass it on. And what I also skipped, which none of this made it to the paper, it's just in my head, was that all players had a player color. So let's say I'm the red player and I have one of each of the 4 shapes. So I add 1, then you add 1. Once everyone's added their shapes, the cards are revealed, and pieces are going to be removed one by one. Maybe each player gets a vote onto which piece is removed, and then when 2 or more of the little tableau cards that we made match as we pull pieces off, players on the matching ones will score. So let's say we decide we're going to pull off circles, and then all we're left with is the other 3. Do any of them match? If so, then those players score. Then we're going to pull off another one. We're going to vote. And let's say we pull off the squares. Now we've just got the 2. Do any match? They're probably going to match more and more. And then once we pull off the final one, they all match. I don't know if we all score at that point. That's kind of redundant. But that was the idea. It at least sounded interesting to me. So the next thing I went into was the mechanics, and I said loosen the surface could mean to break down the top of a deck. So revealing cards off the top of a deck could represent loosening a surface. And that's also sort of thematic, more than mechanics, but cut or soften a wall. I wrote breaking down a guard of sorts. Revealing hidden information also seems fitting here. So whether it's revealing hidden information from a deck or from another player, Scarify to loosen up seems like to reveal what's behind a curtain. So then I went into themes, and I got stuck on this definition that said, or this, to lacerate the feelings of. To me, that was extremely heavy. Lacerating someone's feelings. And I always wanted to make some sort of dating game, like a modern day dating game, and calling it Crushed or something along those lines, where the focus is on wooing and maintaining a relationship with your crush, and avoiding getting crushed in return. So I don't have many thoughts on that beyond like a title and a theme that I really would love to tackle one day. I know there's a couple games, like Fog of Love is a recent game that's along those lines, although I know very little about it. And like going way back on the opposite end of the spectrum, it's not very emotional like that, but just in the subject matter is something like Heartthrob from the 80s or 90s, and it's like on Flip the Table all the time, where you're choosing characters that you're going to go on a date with, and just the whole game is about reading the other players and seeing who they're going to choose. And I've always wanted to see some sort of modern day re-implementation of that, at least from that reading other player mechanic and the theme of a crush, of just that a young love or whatever it would be. So that's my thoughts for Scarify. I do like the idea of a coding game, and I that's one that I would explore, so I'm jotting it down in my alternate notebook. So let me know if you have any ideas, if Scarify scratches the surface for you. I can't do these puns like this. I mean, I do them all the time. I write them down on Twitter or wherever, but saying them out loud is a whole other story. So if it gets you thinking, let me know. Share your thoughts, and I'll talk to you again tomorrow. All right, see ya.